Hey guys, welcome to the SimRacingPaddock. I'm William Marsh, and I am previewing a new mod coming to Assetto Corsa. This is the Cadillac Daytona Prototype International VR, also known as the Cadillac Daytona Prototype International. And this is an exciting car. To my knowledge, there is no current generation racing sim that has a DPI race car in their roster. I know that iRacing and Race Room Racing Experience, they have the Chevrolet Corvette Daytona Prototype, but that isn't part of the new Daytona Prototype International Standard, which was, I believe, kicked off in 2017. So instead of them going with the Corvette DPI, General Motors decided to bring back Cadillac into the top level of prototype racing. So it was interesting to see them make that decision. It's an interesting looking car. The interesting fact with DPI standard race cars is they are actually at a very similar standard to the Le Mans Prototype 2 standard. So they have similar standards. The DPI has a little more leeway, and it is, I think these are better looking than modern LMP2 cars. They are made to look slightly reminiscent of actual road cars. That's, I think, loadable. This doesn't look anything like a Cadillac car. If it was, then a lot more people would be buying Caddies, I think. But yeah, so this car is powered by a naturally aspirated V8. It's actually the same power block that's in the Cadillac CTS-V, but this one is not turbocharged as mentioned. So this one the power figure is slightly less. The Cadillac CTS-V has, I think, around 625 to 650 horsepower. This has 600. And then considered this is about half the weight of a CTS-V. So this thing will get up and go, and we will test it out shortly. But let's take a quick look in the showroom. Just get an idea on how this car looks first, and then we will take it to the track. So this is a pretty solid mod job. This car is being developed by RicardoG. He messaged me in the Discord channel for SimRacingPaddock and offered for me to preview this car. So yeah, I'm excited to preview it. I think it's Ricardo Gomez. He is active in the race department community. He mainly, I think, made liveries. I think this might be one of his first actual modded cars. Unfortunately, I don't know too much about what he's working on and what all has been done. Unfortunately, I don't know anything in the way of release date either. But at the very least, I have this. I saw in the information that this is version 0.95. So it seems like this is almost done. It should be coming out soon. And yeah, so looks pretty well done. This is the Wayne Taylor Racing livery. I think this is based off of the 2017 version of this car. So in that race, Jeff Gordon, Max Angelelli, Jordan Taylor, and Ricky Taylor all took place in this car. I remember this race actually. It was very controversial because this car actually won, but I believe it was Ricky Taylor. He went deep into turn one for a gap, and ultimately the car that he was battling with for the lead spun out, and this guy was able to, or one of the Taylors was able to take away the win for this car. So it was a controversial win, but they did take home the win in this car. I was excited because Jeff Gordon was my favorite NASCAR driver. So seeing him win the 24 Hours of Daytona was nice, but kind of bittersweet because you don't want to see a win come that way. But let's, enough rambling about this car. Let's take it to the track. So I think, have Daytona set up. I should be able to find Daytona. Donington Park. Okay, I guess I do not have Daytona. That's a little unfortunate. We'll take it to another American track then. we will take it to Road America. That should be fun. Let me just make sure I have my paddle shifters properly mapped. I did not, so let's change this. I'll do Le Mans later in this stream. I'll try Le Mans later. But yeah, this should be a good car for Le Mans because this is based off of LMP2. So, lower the tire wear. Not all the way off. But yeah, that should be fine. And can get an idea on how this car performs. So this is my literal first time testing the car. And yeah, so very, very raw first impressions you get to see. Oh, they just raced at Road America yesterday, so that's pretty fitting. Let's turn off display capture, so that should turn on game capture. So hopefully everyone is having a good day so far. And hold on a sec, my SimiCube is in read-only mode. I need to change my SimiCube profile. There we go. Shame there isn't true multi-class racing in Assetto Corsa. That is an extremely true statement. I truly wish they did. Hold on a second. I need to reset center on this wheel. Thomas, in my opinion, the model looks pretty good for third-party mod, and I was mentioning I think it's one of his first efforts in a mod. So let me center the wheel real quick. There we go. And for some reason that caused some tire wear. So, Jeff Master, that is actually a point I want to talk about in the sim racing community. Hold on, this is a little on the louder side, so let's change that down a bit. Okay, so this, to my knowledge, is not a rip. This guy, it's a scratch-made model. He showed me some of the meshes and everything. So this isn't a scratch-made, or this is a scratch-made mod. This is a preview of the mod, so keep that in mind. So, continuing. On the topic of conversions. Conversions are very sketchy. So, for example, I tested out the Assetto Corsa Legends mod before, and after that, actually, I got a message from this, the president of Studio 397, or not Studio 397, of Sector 3 Studios. So I get a message from the president of Sector 3 Studios, who was formerly Simbin, saying, hey, this was an unauthorized mod and it's kind of not a fan of that being covered. Can I change the cockpit view instead of dash? Let me see real quick. I thought I had my settings mapped for that. Oh, one sec. That's the problem. Okay, there's the cockpit. So actually looking at this, it's a pretty well modeled, looking at the steering wheel and all the cords, cables, actually look pretty well modeled. So yeah, I was pressing F1, but I had to click on the gameplay footage again. Hold on. I just need to turn down the volume a bit. Yeah, this is actually a really well modeled cockpit. Field of view is a little wide for my liking, so I might adjust that shortly. So default field of view is let's bring it in. That's a much better field of view for me personally. Le Mans fan, you can see Are for donations for this mod or donations for the channel? Because that's a difference. Or do you mean for this channel or for the mod? But yeah, to my knowledge, this is a scratch made, especially considering Jeff Master. Here's one thing to consider. To my knowledge, no other sim has a DPI race car. No other sim has a DPI, so how can you convert something that doesn't exactly exist? So Le Mans channel, you have two options. You can either do a super chat, which is part of the stream, or you can follow streamlabs.com/SimRacingPaddock, or the link's in the description, and you can donate that way. So sounds pretty good. It might be a little on the reverby side. So yeah, a little on the reverby side, but that could just be tweaked out before final release. But it really has that beefy, naturally aspirated sound. I think the real car had a little more transmission whine, but it seems like in Assetto Corsa, not many cars have that transmission whine. Sounds like the old DP from IER. Definitely sounds similar. This definitely sounds a little more raw than that. At the backup camera grid, yeah. It's always interesting seeing what new manufacturers are doing with that grid, but also in sim racing it seems like it's not as easily programmable. Any ETA? Unfortunately, not that I know of. He hasn't given me an ETA. On the thread that, or not the thread, but I had a conversation with him, and I also saw on this version, it says version 0.95, so I'm hoping it comes very soon. But judging from the handling feels pretty good. The handling feels solid, it feels refined. Jeff Master, I believe this guy, he does have a race department profile where he has released other things. It's Ricardo Gomez. Mainly he's done liveries. So I'm not sure if he's affiliated with a mod team putting this out, or is he doing this all single-handedly. But I know that he's the one that gave me the link to this, at least. And on his profile on Race Department, he did a livery for, it was a Mazda Daytona Prototype. So he did a livery for a Mazda Daytona Prototype that was, I guess, released for Assetto Corsa. I couldn't really find much information on it, but at the very least, he has a livery for that. So I know he's affiliated with Le Mans Prototype and stuff. The AS15 show. So they don't have true day to night transition. There's this new thing, it's a custom shader pack, I guess, which is able to simulate night racing from what I've been hearing. I need to test that out later on. So they do have that. Real Twilight Sparkle. It's literally in the first 2 words of the title of this stream. The title of this stream has the title of the game, Assetto Corsa. But yeah, so feeling the handling of this car, it definitely feels like a Le Mans prototype. It feels like the LMP2 cars, which makes sense because it's essentially running on the same chassis. Not really much to say beyond that. kind of has a little bit of understeer in higher speed corners, which I think, because this is a lower downforce setup, I think you can really just see how this performs. Twilight Sparkle, this car specific to PC. So Assetto Corsa is available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. PC is definitely the more fleshed out version of the three. You have an active modding community which produces third-party cars like this. What's interesting, just not getting much heat in the front tires though. So yeah, the rear tires kind of getting heat in, 32 psi and 4 temps at 70. Wait. Cam and live chat no longer visible on the stream. What the heck happened there? Hold on. Okay, there we go. And thank you, Le Mans fan, for the donation. Thank you for that. Lane RG, this is a different mod. That mod was the IER Endurance Series, which had a Orica, I think it's like the FLM03, and that was a decent mod, but it kind of stagnated recently. So what happened, Fernandinho, was accidentally my display capture got triggered for some reason. So my display capture running at the same time as game capture can cause very, very low FPS. So yeah, it's one of the things with OBS. But yeah, so continuing. This car is good. It definitely feels like an LMP2 car, and this feels like it's in a low downforce configuration. So you're seeing understeer in some of the corners, and in exchange you do get more speed on the straights. It does seem like though the front tires aren't heating up too well, so the base setup might need some optimization. So yeah, like here, I would hope that the tire temperatures would go up a little more. And unfortunately, I'm not too well knowledgeable on car setups to figure out exactly how to get more and more heat in the tires. Well, Laner G, or the thing with Assetto Corsa is it's at the end of its development life. So the end of its development life means that there aren't going to be any new content releases. The team has shifted their focus all the way over into Assetto Corsa Competizione. So of course it's stagnating because it's no longer being actively developed for. So yeah, that's really when the mod community comes in, and I think the mod community, it'll be interesting for Assetto Corsa because there are quality mods being developed like this one that are good scratch-made cars with really well-designed physics and things like that, but also at the same time as all of this, another problem is coming up in the form of illegal conversions. So we are seeing more and more cars being ripped off from titles such as Forza Motorsport, getting very, very rudimentary physics being like laid onto the cars, and those are being distributed more and more, especially amongst Facebook groups. I can't really tell you the amount of times I have seen a new mod released on Facebook, and it's an illegal mod. That's one of the big problems. And hopefully something can come up to address it, but we're seeing more and more illegal mods being circulated. And it's a tough situation because I know Forza Motorsport isn't a high caliber racing simulation. I will state that. But at the same time, when the mods are being illegally ripped off and converted to other sims, it's doing studios like Turn 10 a disservice. It is really kind of spitting in the face of sim racing developers. And sometimes what's even worse is when the small sim racing developers get the shaft. So for example, in the late, I want to say early 2010s, there was the DRM Revival team, which made one of the best mods for rFactor, which was the DRM Revival mod. And if you guys remember, it was recently released to Assetto Corsa as the payware mod. And one of the things is that this is a situation where it was being illegally circulated to other titles. So this, the DRM Revival mod was being illegally converted without permission, and it was being circulated to like Game Stock Car, GTR2, Race 07, and that kind of spat in the face of these small developers that were really like passionate about their work. So at that point in time, the DRM Revival team swore off modding. They canceled their future release for rFactor and just abandoned community because their stuff was being illegally circulated, and that really hurt rFactor in some ways. So it's nice seeing them back. It's nice seeing them releasing something for rFactor, or not rFactor, for Assetto Corsa, but at the same time, we just can't help but think what would have been. And Giuliano, this is a preview. So basically, the developer of this mod contacted me, asked if I'd like to preview this, so yeah. And so far, I'm enjoying this mod a whole lot. It's a lot of fun. It feels good. It feels like a first-party content. So this feels like a first-party mod. If you can feel the effort put into it, you can feel the work that they've done. And it's not perfect, though. It's not perfect. For example, I think the baseline setup might need to be improved, but it's also, setups are track dependent. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so far, first impressions, this car feels pretty nice. Stu, I tried the RSS GT1 pack, and I think it's my favorite mod for for Assetto Corsa. I think it's my favorite third-party mod. You can just tell they did a lot of work into it, and they did a good job. But yeah, I think I do have a video showcasing them, or it might be a live stream, I forget. How do you know the difference between a legal or illegal mod? One of the things I've been finding in the Facebook group mods are a lot of times there will be a line, it says converted by. I'd say about 60 to 70% of the time, if it says converted by, it's an illegal conversion. Neil Kodar, thank you for subscribing. So if it says converted, generally I've found it is likely illegal, because usually if it's a conversion with permission, they will say converted with permission. That is the right thing to do. Hold on a sec. So yeah, it's a tricky situation though. It's always tricky trying to find out what's legal, what's not, and also it's like modding is largely an honor system. Modding, you want to trust that these guys are being honest. And I try to be optimistic with that, but in reality, sometimes people aren't. and that is one of the things that's dangerous with the community. But so far, a lot of the good quality mods for Assetto Corsa are scratch made. For example, there's this mod. There's the other Daytona Prototype mod, the IER mod. So it is good, but you have to be discerning. Also, one of the big concerns now are the paid conversions. So there are some paid conversion mods, which those are total BS. Those are total BS in a lot of ways, where this guy will rip off, or wait, it's under Sim. Yeah. So these guys will rip off cars and tracks from Forza Motorsport, from, I think they've even ripped them off from Codemasters Grid, or they've ripped off even F1 Codemasters, and they'll sell it. They'll sell other people's work. And sometimes they get away with it, sometimes they don't. But that ticks me off. And one of the worst attempts at trying to justify it is they'll say, for example, with Codemasters, like, if you watch my F1 2018 Codemasters preview, you'll see likely 100 comments in that video saying, no VR, no buy. But there's one guy, I bet, that will buy the game with the intent of taking those cars out of the game and implementing them into Assetto Corsa. So my thought of that, or their thought will be, well, F1 is just being stubborn, not implementing VR, so this content deserves to be in a title that has VR. So that's why they're going to illegally rip the cars and put them into Assetto Corsa. And that's, I think, just downright frustrating. It's hurting the community, it's hurting game developers, and it just is like BS. But some people in their right minds, I mean, not in their right minds, some people can steal content and they'll try selling the cars for 50 bucks. It's stupid. It's downright stupid. Leonard, are you sure about it? I'm pretty certain this would be a scratch-made mod. But yeah, so let's see what you were talking about. Yeah, this version of Le Mans is crud. I wish we would get some laser scan version not from iRacing. I wish that Assetto Corsa R Factor 2 would have. It just, yeah, Le Mans is one of the most iconic tracks in the world, and I think in general it's a disservice to really not have it in proper sim racing stuff. What tires is this mod running? I don't know off the top of my head. So I was just asked to preview this mod. For all I know, Ricardo might be working alongside IER. LiDAR available for Le Mans on the interwebs. Yeah, but the issue is that you need the licensing to be able to use that data. So LiDAR, like, that's just for gathering the data. But to actually implement Le Mans as a track into a sim, you really do need to have licensing. And I've talked with some developers, and they say that Le Mans to license is about $30,000 to license the track alone. So you have to pay $30,000 to even be able to use the name Le Mans in a track. That's just mind-blowing. So it's interesting, driving with this car, high-speed corners, you can just tell there's a lot more understeer. Slower speed corners, it's okay because of mechanical grip. Higher speed, it just seems like not as much air is pushing down, and then maybe cold tires. It just doesn't seem to be working as well. Hey Dan, how's it going? But my question is it setup or is it just an inherent flaw with the car? So, have a couple theories I'll do after this lap. Should have stayed in third there, I think. What's interesting, to my knowledge, I don't think there's any version of this car publicly released. I'll have to look into this a little more. But yeah, remember I think friends with McLaren F1 Papa on Facebook, so I get asked him or things like that. So IBP, this is a massive difference because the thing is, the Daytona Prototype from iRacing is the old standard. It's the old Daytona Prototype standard. This is based off of the new Daytona Prototype International standards. Thanks for that, Dan. By the way, guys, if you haven't seen it already, I have published a review on the Track Racer FS3 wheel stand. So that is now on the channel. If you want a fun, relatively quick watch, you can check that video out. And then next up, I do have the the Next Level Racing wheel stand light. I'm going to be working on a video. I expect that a little later this week. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday. We are bumping up against the rev limiter at the end of this straight. But man, that understeer is killer. Also, one of the tricky things is, admittedly, with Le Mans, there's so many long straights that it gives time for the tires to cool down. Hey, Nerdbrick, how's it going? So let's try making this corner this time instead of running off into the kitty litter. It's interesting because with the LMP2 cars, you can almost run flat through here. Here, you definitely have to lift. Drop the front pressure a little more. Thanks for the input. Little flat spot right there, you can tell on the left front. Yeah, this thing is understeering a lot. So let's hop out of the car, make some setup tweaks, and see if we can make the bounce a little better. So jump into the setup screen. We will see how this all... So you only have slick medium, so one single tire compound for this. Let's drop it to 19 psi, see if that can bring in some more heat. Front spoiler, you have between those. So let's drop the rear wing, bring up the front a little bit. Alright, Jeff Massard, let me know what you hear from him. Let me know what you hear from him. If you are on Discord, you can add the Discord channel, and you can find me on there. Or shoot me an email. My email's in the description as well. Because, yeah, I don't know too much about this. All I know is what I've been seeing, and hopefully, if it is something sketchy, we can sort that out. So you can, oh yeah, you can see the car is much better handling now. Discord link should be in the description. Discord link should be in the description. Okay, but another thing, mini rant I want to touch on. I find it frustrating that at this point in the sim racing community, for the modding community, we are going in with the predisposition that the content could be ripped. Because if I think about to the glory days of R-Factor modding, we never really had to worry about that. We see quality content mods, and we see the development train, and boom, we get some great mods. We had some incredible mods for R-Factor. Now it seems like maybe even close to half of the mods for Assetto Corsa are ripped off in some way, and it's majorly frustrating. It's sad that it's the world that we're living in right now, and why can't we all just get along and make some great mods? But I'm enjoying this mod so far. We'll see if we get more heat into the tires, though. Run our out lap right now. Yeah, I could have adjusted gears. Hindsight's 20/20. Seems like we might be getting a little more heat in the fronts. Oh yeah, much better turn in now. Almost turns in too well. Yeah, George. There were the sites like F1 Classic that would rip off just about anything. For example, there was the F1 67 that was a ripoff of Grand Prix Legends. There was, there were titles like, I know it's not the same, but there were the conversions from GT Legends to R-Factor, but Simbin required that you actually had to use, or you had to actually own the game to be able to download it. So things like that. BZ SimWorks. I'll have to check that out later. So, Pedro H. Moises, this is a preview. This mod is not available yet. I was asked to preview this mod, so that's what I'm doing. It's always interesting that that's a corner cut. Well, it's interesting because with this car, the way this is set up right now, the steering lock feels a little too twitchy. Granted, I've never driven a car like this in real life, but it just seems a little on the twitchier side. But yeah, that's just, it's so frustrating regarding the debate between conversion, scratch built. So I'd say it's an element where follow the development train, follow and see what they're saying, because I'd say three words, show your work. I hated those 3 words in high school, but I think that's an element that we should take into consideration now. That it's something where if it is what you're working on, if it is something that you're developing, you should be able to show that you have a claim to it. Unfortunately, I do not know when this mod will be available. I don't really see a release date as of right now. The version that I'm seeing is version 0.9.5 from the developer, so hopefully it should be available soon. So in a minute we will try something a little different for this car that might be very interesting. We'll see how it goes. Unfortunately, I do not know if there are any more development projects that they're working on right now. I checked this guy's race department page, and he created a livery for the what was it? It was a Mazda Daytona Prototype, I think. So I guess there's one floating around. I don't know fully if that's legal or not, but I know that there's like a Mazda Daytona Prototype floating around. Yeah, this car, changing that front valence really makes it better. Can I do a race? I will set one up in a minute. Thank you, Mitchell and Avery, for subscribing. Thank you. Christopher, no news on any Sims front. And keep in mind, guys, I just want to reiterate again, Assetto Corsa will get no more content. Assetto Corsa has reached its end of development. Kuno Simulazione has moved on to Assetto Corsa Competizione. So that is a fact. So no more DLC packs, most likely no free deals, like free add-on, anything like that. It's unfortunate, but it's time. Assetto Corsa has been out, I mean, if you count the tech demo, it's been out for 5 years. If you don't count the tech demo, it's been out for almost 4 years. Is there much difference between Daytona Prototype and LMP? I don't fully know off the top of my head, but it seems like it is a little more understeery in some ways, and then if you tweak the setup, it's a little tighter. So let's see, what would be a good track to drive this on? Laguna. That would be a great choice. So let's see. Let's go GT, or no, not GT3, GTE. GTE, GT3, there we go. Because the GT3 class, or GTE class, that is what is used in this series, I think. Except there are only... Are there only 2 GTE cars in Assetto Corsa? I mean, the Ferrari 458 GT2 might work. We could see how that is. We don't need the VRC car in here. But yeah, GT3, 3. ST, I'm not sure. LMS, I think that would be... GT3 and GTE are in IMSA? Okay. But let's just try this field. And we'll do 20 opponents to lower my CPU usage. And then summary. Not 51 laps. We'll do 11 laps. Fast track service, that's fine. Oh, RH GT3, so that should be in the back of the field then. LMS makes you think Le Mans, and Le Mans makes you think GTE, so I wish Assetto Corsa would have a better distinction between the classes. Yeah, Aiden, congratulations. Let's turn on game capture. And then, of course, in quick race, it's all scattered. It's not according to class or anything, but let's see. Wait, I just realized a stupid mistake we did. Stupid mistake. I forgot to add the DPI to this. So let's modify. And brand Cadillac DPI. Yes. That was stupid on my end. Okay, so that's some interesting information, Fonseca. So Fonseca, he makes a lot of different sound mods, and he's one of the best sound modders for Assetto Corsa. So interesting. So that's some information. We've been trying to deliberate on what's going on with this mod, Fonseca, so thank you for your input. We'll go in here and... So we gotta get a decent start. Get through the field and I get hit. Yep. Let's do take 2. Let's try this again. Without getting murdered. Yeah, Jeff Master, just look at the no VR, no buy comments on my F1 video. So you made the sound for the Corvette DP mod. And you'd say this is similar to that, I guess? So it'll take a lap or so to get through the pack. So I'll have to talk with the guy who's developed this and look into it, I guess. That's frustrating, though. It really is. So Dan Fonsecker, the sound modder, who has made some incredible content for also R Factor 2, you made some of the sounds, and Assetto Corsa. He's saying that it sounds like somebody ripped off his sounds for this mod. So that is frustrating. It's like, that was my mistake. I went too deep into the corner and I paid the price. But that's frustrating. I was asked to review this car, and yeah, that's a pain. It really is, because the thing is, Fonsecker, like, dude, I freaking love your sounds. I mean, I drooled over that BMW Z4 GT3 sound mod. The sounds in that were, like, eargasmic. Like, literally. And then to see this kind of work, I mentioned the term spitting in developers' faces, and that's reality of what it is. I really think that it is something where it spits in the faces of people who do the hard work. And yeah. So I'm going to try to address this. And see what the heck the story is behind this car. Because, I mean, it's my responsibility to the community. It's my responsibility to the community to call out this BS. It is my responsibility to see through what the heck is going on with this kind of stuff. So I'm going to look into this and see where this rabbit hole leads. And, I mean, I'm sorry to all the people that are affected by this, because the reality of it is that, like, people did spend hard work making content. And I don't know, like, it could just be the sounds that are ripped off. But if it is, then that's doing a disservice to Fonsecker. If this is something where somebody else made the model and this guy swiped it, then it's like, really? That is BS. That is a BS move right there. So I'm gonna look into this, and yeah, at least I'll finish this race out. I'll finish this race out and we can see afterwards and see what to do. But honestly, I'm a little pissed off right now, because yeah, did not expect this. Granted, maybe I should have taken a look and test drove this car first before streaming, but I wanted to give you guys my raw first impressions. And the thing is, this car handles okay. This car handles okay. I'll give it that. It's not great, it's not horrible. It's at a level that's above most of these crap conversions. I'll give it that. But who knows? I mean, it's life. People will try to take credit for other people's work. So we'll see where to go from there. Hopefully we can get some answers soon. Hopefully. But yeah. So we're halfway through this race. Looks like we're going to have another DPI on our tail soon. Especially since we have damage. But let's be a little more optimistic right now. I freaking love this version of Laguna Seca. And it's interesting because Laguna Seca, I call it my second home track. Because I live a half hour from Sonoma and about, I think, 2.5, 3 hours from Laguna Seca. I have actually never seen a race at Laguna Seca though. I think I'm overdue. So hopefully in the near future I'll be able to check out the Laguna race. Whoops. So Dan, my rule of thumb is a conversion is legal if they do it with permission. If there's one piece of the puzzle that's made without permission, then that kind of relegates the entire car to being not legal. Because think about it. Like, I'm just going to use an example as a car. So, my Volkswagen GTI, I'm starting to make some tunes on it. I'm starting to make some adjustments. I'm starting to bump up the power a little bit. I put a stage 1 tune in the other day. I'm replacing my clutch in it tomorrow. So, I live in California though. California has some incredibly strict regulations on what you can and can't do on the car. And oh shoot. Someday I want to do a stage 2 tune on the car. The issue is that requires a part that I think is generally illegal in California. In theory, if I bought that piece of the car and put it on, when I go to smog my test, even though every other part of my car is California compliant and legal, that illegal part would make my entire car fail the smog test. In that same mentality, I'd say that Ford Focus conversion. You're saying that everything else was built from scratch, but the 3D model is from Turn 10 Forza Motorsport. That makes it an illegal car. If they got permission from Turn 10, which honestly I find a bit unlikely, that would be a legal conversion. You need to have the consent from the owner of the property, of the model, of the components to make it legal. That is my rule of thumb. And we do see legal conversions. As mentioned, there was the conversion of GT Legends for Assetto Corsa, for R Factor. And Simbin said, yes, you can convert that mod if you implement a CD check system that requires you actually own that mod. So that is what I'd say is legal. Sometimes we see legally converted mods. For example, the Kart Factor for R Factor 1 was converted with permission to GameStar Kart Extreme, and it's still one of my favorite mods for Automobilista. Or it's Kart Extreme. That's one of my favorite mods for AMS, and that was converted with permission from the initial team that developed the car. And they even were a consultant to help improve the mod further, to make the conversion better than the original. So there's those examples. But say ripping a car off from Forza Motorsport, or ripping a car off from F1 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, etc. That is sketchy to say the least. And heck, I've even seen some illegal conversions from the crew. Cars from the crew getting converted, and that's not right. Say what you do about the simulation quality of the sim, but if that you justify that reasoning to take someone else's work and pass it off as your own, especially if you're being an idiot and trying to sell it. If you're trying to sell an illegal conversion, that's a major problem. But yeah, so I do want to search this out. I do want to search out and figure out what is the story between or behind this. But honestly, that's one of the reasons I get a little apprehensive covering mods and different content for Assetto Corsa and mods for other sims. Especially if it is something where it is a situation where you don't see the development trail. You don't really see the trail of development behind what's going on with the mod. Because it could be illegal. And for example, I mentioned earlier on when I was testing out the Assetto Corsa Legends, one of the reasons I was in my mind justifying it was because, hey, as GT Legends was also on R Factor 2, it was also on GTR 2, it was also on Race 07. And after I did that live stream, I get contacted by the president of the company saying, hey, this was not an approved conversion and we want to try to trace down who developed it. So I tried playing my part and trying to help out who did this illegal conversion. And it's frustrating. It is frustrating because GT Legends is one of the best sims out there. It really is. It has a lot of great classic cars. It's a lot of great cars that have great content. And at the same time, the R Factor and other conversions were legal. That's what the president of the company told me. He told me that those ones were legal. But the issue rises when it's an illegal mod, when they don't get permission to convert to a certain title. So it's sketchy. It is it has its issues, and it's sad seeing that this is the state of what's going on with the sim racing modding community. Because there are some great works, there are some great mods. RSS, the VRC mod, or is it VRC? I lose track of all those anagrams. A lot of these mods have so much effort and work put into them, and you can tell. But then there are the half-baked conversions from the little modding teams and things like that. And then F1 Classic is apparently still alive and kicking. And I'll admit it, back in the R Factor days, I used to drive those mods. I loved that F1 67 mod they put out. But that was a rip of Grand Prix Legends. So it's an issue. It really is. And we gotta see how to move past this. We gotta see how to figure this out. PM3DM, is that Patrick Merrick? Freaking love that content that he puts out. That Nissan Primera mod is awesome. But yeah, so closing up the thoughts. This is a good car. This is a fun car to drive. It is interesting, but it's concerning. It's concerning that this could be an issue where this might have stolen content. So Fonseca is saying that this could be stolen sounds, and judging by the quality of his work and the quality of this car, that could be a definite statement. there are traits of this car's sound that really resonate like how Fontecker creates his cars. And I am frustrated with that. And that brings the integrity of this car into question. Is this model ripped off from somewhere else? Is the physics ripped off from somewhere else? It leaves a lot of questions to be asked. And it's irritating. So I'll try to talk to the owner of this mod. Alright, the owner of this mod. I am going to try to figure out what the heck this is all going on, and I'll try making a video talking about it. I'll try putting together something addressing what I find, but it's a pain. It really is. I hate it for the community. I hate it seeing that people aren't getting the work they deserve. So I'll look into it. I'll try to figure out what's going on and see where to go from there. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. For the Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and you guys have a great rest of your day.